I did not see this yet. I want to react to it before it falls out of the news cycle. So yeah, Kyle Kulinski and Krystal versus Cenk from the Young Turks.
You have this fantasy land that Trump was like, oh, the left thinks Abrego Garcia, I've treated him wrong. I surrender, left.
The only time he has been constrained is through the left and liberals banding together and going through the court system and public pressure. That's it. That's all we've seen.
Is MAGA a fascist movement? Just give me a yes or no.
That's an absurd framing, Kyle. That's mainstream media framing.
You can't say that MAGA is fascist.
MAGA calls for denaturalizing and deporting Zoran Mamdani, and just because he's a political opponent, and Cenk cannot call them fascist. That's kind of crazy.
Wait, you really don't believe MAGA's fascist?
I am against Trump, totally, okay? But why do you love Trump will be the next question. Okay.
Did I ask that? Cenk,
okay,
talk about a straw man. I mean, you're making up stuff I never said. Come
What's the point of coming on here if I can't answer your
Cenk,
questions?
I'm giving you plenty of time to answer, brother. You're making up stuff about me. I didn't say that.
Okay,
so you want to talk about straw men?
You're
inventing
it's a
things on the
mistake talking to
spot.
you guys. It's a mistake.
Welcome, Cenk. You're the Young Turks. We appreciate you joining.
He's defending Zoran on his Twitter so far. Cenk is.
No problem. Thanks.
So he's obsessed with the idea that Trump voters are going to have a big conflict and divide, and eventually the real Trump America lovers who are populist and want to help workers and be anti-rich are going to come to the left eventually, if we're nice to them. So he's been buddies with like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Not buddies, but they've shared very kind words with each other. And I consider myself a political pragmatist, so like I want to make sure we have good, coalition building, good messaging, and I think Cenk is very misguided.
Thanks for having me.
So, you want to explain? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, Cenk reached out to Kyle and I this week and said, hey, I think we got some things to talk through. Can I, let's have a conversation. So we said, sure, let's do that. And this kind of follows on the heels of a discussion/debate that you and I had back in December, where, the launching point, and you can, correct me if you don't think that this is a fair characterization of this conversation, but the launching point was a tweet that you had put out expressing some optimism about the Trump administration. So we can put that tweet up on the screen from Cenk to refresh everybody's memory about where we started. So you said, in November 29th, 2024, I've been trying to figure out why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election. Even though I was so against the guy who won, I know now MAGA is not my mortal enemy, neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated. So over the course of that conversation, you explained to me that the reason you felt optimistic was really two reasons. Number one, as you say there, the establishment was defeated. And number two, you felt that the elements of the populist right and the bros would hold Trump accountable. And it kind of built to this crescendo where he actually turned to the camera and said, listen, guys, in a little while, you're going to be able to say whether I was right or whether Krystal was right. Let's go ahead and play that portion as a refresher. That is element number two.
I want to address something to the audience. Can I?
Sure.
Is this my camera here? Okay, yeah. So right-wing populists, it is now your job to prove Krystal wrong.
Go out and do it, y'all.
So she doesn't believe you. And by the way, almost no one on the left, other than me and Anna, believe you guys that you actually want to cut the Pentagon. And that you could pressure Elon Musk and Donald Trump to cut the Pentagon.
Oh, what a crazy take, bro. At any point, thinking they were going to reduce the military budget when military is literally tied to Elon Musk and Peter Thiel's entire operation. Oh.
So
by the way, Peter Thiel, the same guy that... Isn't Peter Thiel a funder of Cenk's new studio with TYT with Polymarket? Isn't Peter Thiel like financing Cenk? Is that why Cenk is going down this road?
Going to prove the left wrong, or are you going to?
You think Cenk is controlled opposition now, Kyle? I don't know. He is awful. Is he controlled opposition? He might be.
Prove them spectacularly right. Am I going to have to come on here and apologize to Krystal for ever believing in any right-wing populist? And say, oh, I was a sucker. Those guys are liars. All they want to do was increase the Pentagon, have more wars, more corruption, and they never held Trump accountable. We waited 4 long years for them to hold him accountable, and all they did was kiss his ass and show that they don't really believe in freedom. They said all this stuff about freedom, but they never meant it. They said all this stuff about drain the swamp, but they never meant it. They said all this anti-war stuff, but they never meant it. We're going to come back on here in 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, and we're going to keep doing a check.
So, Cenk, that was kind of the context of that discussion. And just for the audience and for you, since there's two of us and one of you, and we don't want to be like jumping on all over each other, and maybe Kyle and I have disagreements on things, I thought I would kind of handle the first 30 minutes more or less. Kyle would handle the second 30 minutes. You've got a engagement.
They're taking turns on them.
You've got to go to hard out in an hour, so that's the amount of time
we
that we have.
We could do this for 4 hours if we had the time.
I'm sure we could, and it would be painful for all involved. But in any case, we've got a hard out for Cenk in 1 hour. We want to be very respectful of his time. So with everything that's happened in Trump 2.0, do you still feel that original optimism that you expressed at the time, do you still feel that was well-founded?
Absolutely. And part of the reason I wanted to come on is to see if you guys are on planet Earth or live in an alternate reality. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm being genuine about it. And Krystal, I went back and watched our conversation from back then.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Yeah, you kept saying like things against Trump. And that's why I didn't even think it was a debate. It was a discussion because I was like, yeah, I totally agree with you on Trump and the Republicans, et cetera. I was talking about the populist right and the independents that voted for Trump, the actual voters. And you saw it in that clip. I don't address Trump. I don't address any Republicans. I address the voters. So what has happened since then? Joe Rogan has come out against what Trump has done with Mahmoud.
Joe Rogan just got done debating Bernie Sanders, okay? When Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan, all right, Bernie Sanders talked about climate change, which, by the way, I think talking about environmentalism and green energy appeals better to people than talking about climate change because they can fundamentally see green energy working and they can see why like oil spill is bad. So environmentalism is probably a better way to tackle climate change, at least rhetorically. The American people are not going to care. They're not going to care at all about scientific climate changes and global warming. Okay, but Joe Rogan was debating Bernie, saying climate change was fake. Joe Rogan was defending Trump, saying that it's good for the president to be suing political opposition and journalists and the media, and it's good to crack down on freedom of speech. Joe Rogan was debating Bernie. Joe Rogan said corruption is an issue in politics and big money's an issue in politics, but Joe Rogan still defends Elon Musk and still defends Peter Thiel and still defends Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos. First example Cenk uses there. Crazy.
Mahmoud Halil, with Abrego Garcia, almost all of the MAGA hosts have come.
It's like, okay, well, Donald Trump completely defies the Constitution and does very inhumane acts to people. And Joe Rogan finally says, after all this time says, yeah, I guess that one thing Trump did was a little not good. Like, are you serious?
Come out against the war.
A little not good.
Ranging from Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, then you've got politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene, you've got Tim Dillon, I'm not sure you can name a right-wing MAGA host or
Marjorie Taylor
independent
Greene,
host
Tim Dillon?
that's for the war in Iran.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay, Tim Dillon is probably fine, but like Marjorie Taylor Greene just put out like 10 posts in a row saying how much she adores and loves Donald Trump, dude. Like, the number one principle is loyalty to their cult leader, loyalty to the king. That's their number one and only real principle.
I'm genuinely curious, like, are you guys not seeing that, or does that somehow magically not count?
So, Cenk, I have the same question as to whether or not you're on planet Earth. Because, first of all, let me ask you this question. Do you think that Trump 2.0 is better or worse than Trump 1.0?
Trump is irrelevant.
No, he's not irrelevant, because I'll tell you why. Here's why. You expressed optimism about how all this would go. And the reason you were optimistic is because,
hold on.
No, we just saw your tweet, okay? The reason you were optimistic
I can explain the tweet.
Is because you thought these various groups and influencers would hold him accountable. So did they constrain his behavior, for example, when Elon Musk was running around with a chainsaw, slashing Social Security and gutting the federal government and gutting the CFPB? No, we didn't. In fact, we saw Joe Rogan host Elon Musk, not to mention Mark Zuckerberg and Mark Andreessen, to make the case for those things, okay? No accountability there. Did we see them constrain his behavior and hold him accountable when he launched a crypto shitcoin, the most corrupt scheme in American history, most likely? No, he did it. He's faced no accountability for that. You mentioned some dissent from Rogan on the kidnapping of college students off of college campuses. Is it the right that organized in opposition to that? No, it's the left and it's liberals. The only time that Trump's actions have been constrained at all in this Trump 2.0 era, which is vastly worse than I even expected when you and I had that conversation.
Does Cenk think there are Republicans going to the protests for anything? 100% some independents, some libertarians will go protest and will turn against Trump. But when it comes to MAGA and MAGA Republicans, they are cooked. Their brains are fried. If they are Republicans and they are good people, they are Republicans in name only at this point. And they are probably supporting anti-Trump candidates. Even Thomas Massey, Donald Trump made a pact to specifically target Thomas Massey of all people. And Republicans love Thomas Massey. It's just,
we've got
crazy.
Men in hundreds of people in a concentration camp. I didn't see any accountability from the right on that. I don't see any accountability from the right on an American city that is right now under invasion by our own troops, Marines on the ground in the city of LA. No, I don't see any accountability there. I see an administration that, as I predicted, the guardrails are completely off. And the only places where he has been constrained at all is when the left and liberals organized against Elon Musk, Tesla protests, showing up at town halls, etc., made him toxic. He had to be turfed out of the administration. And in the context of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, when you had mass...
Someone said in chat, this dumb hillbilly got her money marrying a CEO? What are you trying to tell us?
Left liberal resistance, even pushing Democratic leaders who were lame and weak to do something. Chris Van Hollen goes down to El Salvador, and the administration did something they did not want to do, which was to bring him back. That is the only time this administration has been constrained. It has had nothing to do with the right, had everything to do with liberals and the left organizing against him.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So you asked about 12 questions. I would love the time to answer it, but you didn't actually answer my question. Do you see a massive MAGA revolt against the war? And I'm being genuine. It's a literal question. Or do you just not see it?
No, literally the numbers, bro. Republicans went from being anti going to war with Iran to being like 90% in favor of doing it within a couple days. Like it's literally a cult. Like they went, I think it was like a 40% change in favorability of going after Iran. Oh man.
Cenk, here's what I can tell you. Okay, Charlie Kirk, your buddy. He has already.
He's not my buddy.
He has
Krystal,
already
don't say
gone.
that.
Yeah, he is.
He's already gone.
Thing to say.
He's already
Go ahead.
gone from. He's already gone from being critical of the Iran war to guess what? He got a call from the White House, and now what he's saying? What's he saying? Oh, I trust Trump. Trump is the man for this moment. I know he's going to make the right decision.
The exact
Steve
quote
Bannon.
is.
Go
Can I
ahead.
give the exact quote?
Yeah.
Thank you for a finger heart on TikTok. Thank you for the 1 penny in USD. Thank you for the 1 USD penny.
This is from Charlie Kirk. Quote, we must trust Trump in this situation. Go ahead with Steve Bannon.
So
Steve
you're not
Bannon.
seeing
Hold
it.
on. Steve Bannon. Put up element number 4. This is the Financial Times today. Steve Bannon says, if the president, as commander-in-chief, makes a decision to do this, the MAGA movement, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Matt Gaetzes, we will fight it up till the end. But if he has more intelligence and makes that case to the American people, the MAGA movement will support President Trump.
Yes. Okay, we disagree with him, but he is God himself. I mean, Trump was sent from God, so who am I? Who am I to say Trump did anything wrong? That's what they're going to do because they are theocratic Christian nationalists.
When Trump says that he gets to define what America first is, he's right about that. And
True.
so when you have Bannon,
Thank
who
you.
also was critical of Elon Musk originally and got a call from the White House and said, cut it out, and he bent the knee, these people time and time again, Cenk, all they do is ultimately when Trump makes a decision, they bend the knee. We are already far enough into this administration to know there has been no constraint on his action that has come from the right. None. And we're in a war with Iran.
Okay.
We are already in a war with Iran. They didn't constrain him here. He's doing whatever the hell he wants to do.
Okay. So you guys just spoke for like 8 minutes doing a straw man. Okay. So you make it sound, and this is what's so harmful. You guys make it sound like I'm pro-Trump and I think that MAGA is just a bunch of angels who are secretly left-wing and they're going to magically agree with us on every issue. And the minute that Trump does something wrong, they're going to all push back 100%. And that's what I believed. I believed in rainbows and unicorns. Of course not, Krystal. Of course not. Well, you're trying to move that.
He just gave a straw man to Krystal. That's not what she really said.
Moving the other side is super hard. And so when you see something, anything where they actually agree with us, you have to encourage that. So when you say all the things
They
that
don't
you
really
said,
agree.
is
They don't
Trump
really
a bad
agree.
guy? Oh,
When Mussolini and Hitler said they were in favor of workers' rights and they wanted to give everyone a nice, fancy nationalized union, it's not because they're pro-union. I mean, you could sound like you agree. If you read the Doctrine of Fascism, it looks like something agreeable, but they were not agreeable. It was all propaganda. Oh, Cenk would have fallen for Mussolini so hard, bro. He would have fallen so hard. He would have thought Mussolini is the change candidate we need.
of course. So if you're listening out here, guys, the framing of all of this is totally wrong. Like, we're having a conversation. Do you think Trump's a bad? Of course I think Trump's a bad guy. He's totally authoritarian. That's why I voted against him. That's why I worked so hard against him.
He's a fully authoritarian
so even the
guy.
framing makes me like sound defensive when you guys started with a premise that's out in la land. We totally oppose Trump. So now the second part of the premise that's totally wrong is, do I think that MAGA is going to revolt on every issue against Trump from day one? Why? Why would they? They love Trump. Of course not. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for, is there 1 or 2 issues where there is actual agreement? And
No, okay, so like One big piece of advice for political strategy: you do not want to spend your energy or resources on a voter block that will not move to your position, or to vote for your candidate. So MAGA right now, if it takes 100% effort to move one person, you'd much rather spend your time talking to either non-voters on the left or talking to independent voters who are going to come out and vote, who you can move over. I would not waste my time talking to MAGA or trying to touch the cult. We need other Americans who care about American values, who care about American freedom, who care about the Constitution. We need them to rise up and join the process. Do not drain yourself. Do not waste your energy trying to get the craziest MAGA supporter on your team. Okay, dedicate your time and effort to things that are productive and conducive to a stronger movement in the future. Do not follow Cenk's really dumb attitude, really dumb perspective of what he wants to do. By the way, if you call in, I can still see your phone call. Send a text to the phone number saying you actually want to call in. I'll call you back. If I'm reacting to a video, you can send me a text to this fake phone number up top, and I can call you back, and I'll take a break from the video if you do want to call in and debate something. But drop a like, comment, subscribe. I'm reading the chat. Thank you for joining me.
And can we take that agreement and do something interesting to restrain Trump in those issues? So when you talk about immigration,
and so when has that worked?
Okay, hold on. Well, we're in the middle of it right now. So I'll tell
we're
you
at war with Iran, Cenk. Hate to break it to you. We're at war with Iran. It didn't work.
Okay. So Krystal, let me finish. So when you talk about immigration and all the things that he's terrible on, I know what MAGA's movable on or not. I talk about it on the Young Turks all the time. If you think you're going to move them on immigration, you are nuts. They're not going to move an inch on immigration. So I fight him tooth and nail on that dungeon in El Salvador that they're sending people to, the Marines in the streets. Now, there's some issues like immigration where they haven't moved an inch and they never will move an inch, right? Mm-hmm. There's some issues like the Marines in the streets where a smattering of them are like, this is a little uncomfortable. It feels a little unconstitutional.
Yeah, but they will justify it if they can go after immigrants because they don't because of the other white nationalist ideals they have. So like, they will go after immigrants regardless. They talk about immigrants. Like I talk to people on my show, MAGA supporters. Some Trumpers, some more independent, some people who can actually think for themselves. But most of the MAGA supporters, they cannot talk about one issue that affects them. They need to view politics towards who they're attacking. They need to view politics in the immigrants they're attacking, or the leftists they're attacking, or the liberals they're attacking, or the trans people they're attacking. They need to view politics in that frame. I've been asking Trump supporters, can you bring up one issue in your life you can connect back to politics? We can talk about it. I can give you policies. I'm a policy guy. We can talk about making your life better. They cannot talk about their own lives, either because they are too mentally weak to attack things that affect them, they're too scared to, and they're really just betas that don't want to attack real issues, or they're angry and hateful, and they don't have real problems that affect them. So in the absence of real problems that they want to solve or that they can solve, they spend all their time and effort attacking other people, attacking minority groups they don't like. So MAGA really does operate off of pure spite and anger. It's really sad. It's a mental health epidemic.
Constitutional doesn't feel quite right. Those libertarian wing. Remember, guys, this is super important. There's 77 million people that voted for Trump, right? If you treat them all the same, you will not be able to win elections.
You voted Trump on gas prices. Sure, buddy.
Because that is how you take power away from Trump, away from the Republicans. So if you treat all 77 million as hardcore MAGA, you are going to push them away and they're going to vote against you. You can say, oh, no, but it makes me feel better. I have emotional release and my audience likes me more because I seem like I'm tougher on Trump.
I agree with that point. You should not talk to every person like they are indoctrinated MAGA cult member. Talking to everyone as if they are a completely lost white nationalist will turn people away. I agree with Cenk there. But what he does is he's a useful idiot. He boosts right-wing messaging, he does advertising for them, and he does not provide sufficient pushback. He does it in the weakest, dumbest, most ineffective way possible. But there is a kernel of truth to saying, do not treat every voter as if they are ideologues that you see on the internet. Because most voters are not that well thought out, so they have other issues they do care about. I'm talking about the super deep MAGA people who have Trump signs and Trump flags and they believe God saved Trump on purpose because Trump's going to save America. Those people are in a cult, but you have to be able to differentiate. So like there's no reason for Cenk to talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example. No reason to platform her.
I was so mean to her. Yeah, but did that persuade anybody? I called all of his voters fascists. Yes, but did that persuade anyone? You're trying to persuade the people in the middle to come to your side. So what are the issues where we've got a fighter's chance? War. Okay, so now, do I think that on day one, they were all going to flip and then act and be successful in stopping all of the establishment, all the neocons. And by the way, were we successful? We were not successful in stopping any of them during Biden or any other Democratic administration either, right? So now there's a giant full-blown revolt from MAGA against this war. Now, if you were saying, no, I don't see Tucker Carlson, Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Posobiec, Cernovich, Candace Owens, et cetera, all of them opposed to the war, but you might not, because a lot of people watch programming that honestly just kind of gives them a misleading sense of what's happening.
Did you see Tucker, Trump saying, Tucker called me to apologize. He said he went too far. Did you see Steve Bannon saying, we're all going to fall in line ultimately? So I'm not talking about, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the however many million Americans voted for Trump, some of whom are hardcore MAGA, and you will never move.
Someone in chat said, why are you lumping together Christians and MAGA? I'm not lumping them together. And I'm also going to go to Kyle's part, by the way. I'm not lumping them together. Or is Kyle not in this part? No, this is just Krystal for the first part. Okay, so you have to pay to see Kyle's part. When I say Christian nationalist, that is the ideology closer to radicalism and to the KKK. It's a very radical authoritarian ideology. Christian nationalism is not Christianity. Many Christians would be against Christian nationalism, but evangelicalism, oh crap, don't listen to me. But evangelicals, in general, evangelism. I'm gonna die. Don't record me saying evangelicalism. Evangelicalism. But yeah, the very fundamentalist Christians are gonna be believing very weird things and very aggressive forms and authoritarian forms of religion. So I'm not grouping them together. I'm just calling out that fundamentalist, anti-American part of Christianity. But there are very many. I go to church. I go to church every Sunday, Bucko.
Move them, and I guarantee you, the moment that Trump says this is the policy, they're going to say, "You're right, sir. This is the policy. This is brilliant, and I am on board." Are there independents that can be moved? Yes. There are two separate questions here. Okay. Number one is we are in hell right now. Like, the level of damage that has been done to this country, done to the world from Trump 2.0 already is astounding. So the number one thing is triage. Right? How do we stop?
That's what I'm doing.
How do we stop as much damage as we can? And the track record thus far in the Trump administration is the only time.
No, Cenk is doing pick me. He's like, I'm the good liberal. I'm the good progressive. I'm not like the other girls.
He has been constrained is through the left and liberals banding together and going through the court system and public pressure. That's it. That's all we've seen in this administration. The other question is, how do you win elections?
No, it's not a small minority. Many American evangelicals are insane. Okay, many of them are. Many are good people. But when it comes to evangelicals in America, they are very, 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 very radical on average. And they make up most of the, I'm pretty sure most of the Christians in America, which is why we have so many senators and congressmen saying America should be a Christian state. And we should be, in the same way you have an Islamic state, they want to make this a Christian state in America. And that's why they care so much about supporting Israel and Judeo-Christianity, because they view it as a battle against the Islamic states, and they want America to be a Christian state. So they want to replicate what Israel is doing in America, sort of. There's other reasons they want it as well. But it is an issue with Christianity. Like, for Catholics, for example, the MAGA evangelical, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that type, hates Catholics, just like the KKK did. The KKK hated Catholics. They hated immigrants. But Catholics love protecting immigrants and stuff like that. So it is a lot of diversity. But.
So go ahead and address that, and we can talk about the election piece. But real quick, before you get in, as to the earnestness of this MAGA anti-war movement, put element number 3 up on the screen. Do you know, tell me, how many Republicans have signed on to the War Powers Resolution?
One.
Is Marjorie Taylor Greene? No. Is Lauren Boebert there? No. One. Thomas Massey, a libertarian who is, ideologically consistent, kind of similar ideologically to Dave Smith. Every other person here is a Democrat. So to the earnestness of this anti-war MAGA coalition and their commitment to blocking war with Iran, here is where the rubber meets the road. You have one Republican who is already at odds with Trump.
Now, right here, if Cenk says he's playing close to MAGA, because when Republicans vote in a bad way, so like pro-war, or they vote pro-wealthy, then Cenk is going to say, hey guys, I'm friends with you. I'm the good progressive, and I told you this whole time they're not real about these things. They don't care about these things you care about. So now you should come to my side because we do care about these things. If Cenk says that, I'm not saying there's no truth to it. There is some, like I said before, this is a possible political philosophy and angle you can take, but Cenk's execution is so bad, it makes me think he's malicious. Okay, so like what he's saying right now may be, what he says next might be true. It may be true, but his attempts so far have been pathetic. If I'm giving him like a charitable reading of his strategy, he's just doing it terribly then.
Who is willing to put his name on this war powers resolution. That's it.
So, Krystal, look, I know you don't mean it, but you keep conflating two things. The Republican politicians, including Trump, and the Republican voters, or the people who voted for Trump, okay? So are the Republican politicians corrupt? Of course they're corrupt. Are they going to say, hey, Israel, I'll be your bitch, and I'll do whatever the hell you want me to do? Of course they are. They're completely owned by Israel, okay? So AIPAC, et cetera, the warmongers, by the way, let's be honest, is more than half the Democratic Party totally owned by AIPAC? Yes, right? So I oh my God, no.
Totally owned is really far.
You can't be honest. You have to just say that.
But also the strategy does not work if you say like every Democrat. Okay, every Democrat is better than any Republican right now. I cannot think of one Democrat that would not be better. And Kyle agrees. A lot of people agree. What he just said right there, you can't be like, you know, Democrats are fully corrupt and bought out. You have to have some nuance there to say why Democrats are better. It's because their voters care about good things. So like when Biden does pro-union things, it's not just because Biden wants to support unions. It's because unions organize and get power through organizing, and voters that vote Democrat want Biden to support unions. Therefore, he does it. And Republicans don't actually ever, you know, lessen the deficit. They don't actually help the working class. They don't do anything for any of their voters, but they do focus on immigration, which is what their voters truly care about. So you have to talk about the incentives politicians have, and what, like, there's other better ways to do what Cenk wants to do.
The other side is terrible, and our side is angels. No, I'm not going to play that.
Would you rather be on the side of the 37 who signed onto the War Powers Resolution,
Krystal,
or the
I am
1?
on the side of the 37. Everything you frame is a straw man. I am on the side of the 37. In fact, Ro Khanna is my top ally. Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna and I had the same exact strategy that you criticized in November when we talked.
That's not true.
You literally put me, and Kyle did the same thing. You guys put me in the same bucket as Bernie and Ro, reaching out to see if we can find agreement on the right.
But what else has Bernie done? What else has Bernie done that has been profoundly impactful? The anti-oligarch, the Fight Oligarchy tour, which was an effort to bind together the left and the liberals to protest. And
okay, Bernie Sanders would never have signed a deal with Polymarket and Peter Thiel to fund a studio. You can't say you're anti-oligarchy and then partner with the chief crypto fascist neo-Nazi guy. You just can't do that, Cenk.
To resist this administration, and that has been profoundly more impactful.
Having a conversation with a person who isn't here.
Did the Pentagon?
Someone said, "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Moderator. How's it going?" Thank you for talking to the moderator. Thank you for responding to Cam. Welcome, everyone.
Budget get cut? Just tell me that. What's the?
No callers tonight. I'm waiting for callers to talk about stuff, but no one's calling in. So I'll keep on going with the reaction. I do need to go to bed within like an hour. I have to wake up pretty early. So.
Pentagon budget. Did it get cut?
You've now asked me 28 questions.
Did Don Jr. Did he do whatever with the generals? Did that work out?
All right, guys, look, I came on here because, look, you're generally fair. So you asked me 28 questions, and then let me answer them. So, and stop framing it as if I'm a different person. You keep making all these assumptions about who are you on the Republican side of the
I'm literally citing things that you said, Cenk. Like, I played your clip of what you said. Turn to the camera.
Okay,
hey, tell me if I'm wrong.
Krystal, I'm right here. I'm right here. Can I talk for myself instead of you?
You specifically held on to the Pentagon budget.
At this point, borderline lying about me in every framing of every question. Can I actually be a human being named Cenk actually answer your questions instead of you framing me as a person that doesn't exist?
Cenk,
okay?
I played the clip of you talking, so tell me how I'm lying.
Okay. All right, so now of all your questions, you have this fantasy land that Trump was like, oh, the left thinks Abrego Garcia's I've treated him wrong. I surrender, left. Come on, what planet do you live on? No, the courts are not left or right. The courts have held. I'm thrilled that the courts have held. And it was so important for the courts to hold. So if they didn't hold on that, he was going to have unlimited authoritarian power. And we are against that, no matter how many times people try to pretend that we're on the side of Trump. Listen to what I am actually saying. And you will see this every day on the Young Turks. I am against Trump. Totally. Okay. Now, okay. Yes, but why do you love Trump will be the next question. Okay.
Did I ask that? Cenk, okay. Talk about a straw man. I mean, you're making up stuff I never said. Come on.
Yeah, I saw the anti-oligarchy.
Not here if I can't answer your
Cenk,
question.
I'm giving you plenty of time to answer, brother. You're making up stuff about me. I didn't say that. Okay, so you want to talk about straw men? You're inventing things on the spot.
You guys, it's a mistake.
He's salty.
So okay, now when you're talking about
I did not know he'd be coming in with this energy.
You think that I thought, oh my God, Elon's such a good guy. And Trump's such a good guy, even though I've spoken out against them at every single turn. And then I magically thought, oh, I bet they become liberals overnight, progressives overnight. No, you put out the Pentagon thing so that they're stuck either way. That's why Bernie and Roe joined me. Because either they cut the Pentagon, we go, yes, mission accomplished. We got a tiny, tiny amount accomplished during a Trump reign, which seemed impossible. Or they don't cut the Pentagon and they add to it. And then we all come out, as I did and Bernie and Roe did, and go, see, we told you. They're hypocrites.
I would probably say that out of MAGA, none of them at all, none of them care about the military budget. None of them care about government spending, okay? A very small percent care about that. Independents might care about those things, but the MAGA, Republican MAGA, Trump-worshipping base, they do not care at all about literally anything except their political opponents crying. They want to see liberals cry, and that's all they care about.
The leaders of your party never intended to cut the Pentagon. MAGA, they were lying to you. Now
does MAGA care, Cenk? Did that work? Did MAGA care?
Yes, they do care.
No, they don't.
No, okay, Krystal.
I've seen zero pushback on the Pentagon budget. Let me just say, because I let you go on for a little while.
Oh, I know.
There were two tactics that were floated by me and by you in our conversation, okay? You said, I think it's great that Elon's responding to me, Don Jr.'s responding to me. Like we have more of a chance. No, you said we have more of a chance with these guys to cut the Pentagon budget than we don't. And I said nothing good's going to come out of this. And so the important thing to do is to resist the project outright because we don't want a bunch of the richest man on the planet running our government. And so we saw how this played out.
Yeah,
the Pentagon. Hold on. The Pentagon did not get cut. And actually, what happened is all of the liberal and left organizing against Tesla, against the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, against Elon directly, tanked his popularity to the point that Trump felt he was a political liability and the whole project had to be scrapped. So the tactic of let's work with them and try to cut the Pentagon budget failed. The tactic of let's resist.
Thanks for your text message, dropship captain.
This project outright and make the case and make Elon himself politically toxic succeeded.
So, Krystal, we do live in two different worlds. It's fascinating to see. It's amazing to see. So, number one, the project of saying cut the Pentagon worked. Why did it work? Because they cut the Pentagon, they magically became progressives overnight? No. It worked because it showed and highlighted their hypocrisy, that they weren't going to cut the Pentagon.
Yeah,
and
there's
now
the...
I know,
okay,
I get
yeah,
it.
okay, so he's going to get into the crux of the argument now, of the tactic, but... I don't know, bro. This whole conversation, 22 minutes, it really is just kind of crazy how I guess that's how conversations work. It's not going to be robotic. You have to have a way for people to understand things. I understand. Not everyone has the full concept. The full concepts are hard to grasp and all that kind of stuff. But the simple argument that I said earlier is all Cenk should be saying. But again, he's probably paid opposition, so who knows?
I get it, guys. Especially if you're in the audience, you're not seeing it. I get it, and I'm not saying that as an insult. But you're not seeing it.
So you won because the Pentagon budget went up, even though you thought that the Pentagon budget would get cut.
Can I finish? Okay. So the reason you're not...
Okay. Krystal is not giving Cenk credit there. So, like, this is the art of convincing. So, like, again, the argument Cenk's making is reasonable and probably somewhat true to show hypocrisy, but his actions do not follow at all. Krystal is not really hearing that, and I'd blame Cenk for that. I'd blame Cenk for not clearly portraying what he wants to do, and also for doing a really crappy job if he is trying to do it in a good way. So, like, Krystal does not know what she's really criticizing either, I don't think.
Seeing it is because you're not engaging with MAGA, and that's okay. And you don't want to engage with MAGA. I got it.
Do you know who I am? Do you know the show I host?
I don't know if you know who you are.
Who are you talking to right now?
Okay,
I host a show with Sagar and Jetty and Emily Jasinski every day.
So Krystal,
no one in this room talks more to MAGA than I do, okay?
Yeah, okay. But okay, so are you...
Okay, so it's really funny too, because I've given Krystal Ball criticisms also in the past that she helps bring MAGA into the fold. So, like, with her Sagar, her host on Breaking Points, I've always, like, he's a Tucker Carlson, like, Republican. He loves Tucker Carlson. He came up, I'm pretty sure, under him, didn't he? And his propaganda is insane at points, and she just smiles along with it and gives it back up and gives it some credence. Now, that is still an anti-Trump form of MAGA, or an anti-Trump form of conservatism, or isolationist, or whatever that Sagar is. But I know Krystal Ball in the past. I've made videos about Krystal Ball doing what she's mad at Cenk for doing here. So I'm happy to see she's developing further and she's more confident to stand up in a way that matters. But it's also really interesting to see her levying criticisms at Cenk that I very strongly felt about her in the past.
You're saying that none of the MAGA voters were thrilled that they added to the Pentagon? Is that what you're saying?
They don't give a shit because Trump did it.
Elon and
Yeah,
Trump.
no, you guys were wrong.
Elon and Trump and Don Jr., Cenk, lied to you from the beginning when they pretended like there was even a 1% chance of it. So when people told you at the time, though, resist them outright and point out that they're frauds. Don't pretend like maybe they'll cut it. That was kind of the point.
You guys have a totally ridiculous, All right, let me not be insulting.
Okay. Kyle. Good. Kyle just recentered it again, so that's really good. So Cenk acting like they're actually gonna cut it. Cenk giving them the credit already, like, oh, they're gonna cut it. Look, guys, MAGA is doing some good things. Look, guys, the pressure's working. They will cut the Pentagon. I'm hopeful. Oh, Cenk also put a post up. I remember this. He said, I'm hopeful I can work with Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk is gonna actually do this, and he actually was like retweeting. He retweeted and interacted with Elon Musk a few times. So Kyle recentered it again. This is really, really good here. The issue with Cenk is he seems like a genuine supporter of MAGA. He doesn't say, like, hey guys, I care about this thing and Trump's not actually going to do it. Cenk waits until like forever. He gives them full credit for actually doing stuff they never do, and he barely does the convincing part. He does the pick me, I'm the good progressive, I'm the good liberal guy bit, but he never actually does the real convincing to move people over. Okay, that's
we
good.
disagree on strategy. Okay.
Definitely,
So,
yes.
okay, yeah. This whole idea that you're making a difference because Donald Trump is listening to the left, I can't believe you guys think that. That sounds totally detached from reality.
I'll make that case in a minute.
Why is Elon Musk out? Because people burn Tesla cars? I mean, Krystal, you said that in the intro. Are you serious? No, Elon's out because his policies were always deeply unpopular. No one wanted those cuts.
Yeah, and who pressed that case?
Them, and they're in La La Land.
Cenk, and who pressed that case? It was
left
the left and liberals.
in the street.
Joe Rogan hosted him on his podcast to pump him up. Joe Rogan,
guys,
think about, but Cenk, think about this.
You're doing
Think
this
about this.
unbelievable straw man.
No.
Hold on, can I just
Let me just finish my thought here. Okay.
Someone said Democrats are against no taxes on overtime. I mean, I think it's not really a good policy. I would just cut taxes for all working class people and raise taxes on the wealthy, because right now Trump is raising taxes on working class people and decreasing them. He's decreasing taxes on the wealthy to give us higher taxes, and you don't know that because you're stupid and you're a brain dead moron who does not do any research by himself and listens to just podcasts that tell you what to think all the time, and you have no independent thinking ability, so like you don't know that's happening. But like Democrats literally voted for no taxes on tips. The Democrats all voted for that bill. Democrats all voted for no taxes on tips or overtime. Okay, Democrats voted for that bill. You idiot. They voted on no taxes for tips or overtime. They voted on that.
Okay. Rogan hosted Zuckerberg and Andreessen to attack the
course
CFPB.
He did. Of course he did.
To gut and attack the
CFPB. Bernie
CFPB.
Sanders progressive overnight?
No,
Are
but
you insane? No, guys.
Are you insane? You were the one.
Cenk, it's
Unfairly
working. Don't
voted.
worry. Keep
Cenk,
trying.
If
It'll work
anyone's going
eventually.
to be
You really think
populist,
that I
hold
thought that it-
on, Cenk. Let me finish a thought. If anything, if the populist right stands for anything, you would think it would be an anti-scam bureau that is wildly effective. But no, and actually stood up against debanking conservatives. But no, what did Rogan do, and what did they cheer for with Elon with the chainsaw? Completely gutting not only the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Trump gutting the National Labor Relations Board, but then defenestrating the ability of this government to enforce white-collar crime at all. Did MAGA care? No.
And you know what, dude? Joe Rogan does not support MAGA because he's racist. He's just stupid, which is probably worse.
No, they didn't. The only people that held them to account were left and liberals who organized
And
against
peer
that
pressure.
and yes, successfully made Elon so toxic that he ultimately crashed out of the administration. That's what happened.
So let me try explaining it this way and see if I can get through to you guys. So you keep telling me all the things that Trump did wrong. Of course he did. So I'm saying that it's a given that he's always going to do, for example, 90% of things massively wrong. And in the other 10% that he plans to do wrong, I'm saying we have a fighter's chance if we ally and we show hypocrisy, or we get allies. So win-win either way. Okay?
Ally.
So for example, in opposing the war, either they become our allies and somehow at some point we stop this war, or we show, oh, you guys never meant it. Now you're the pro-war party, which makes us much more likely to win over independence and win the next election.
But Cenk,
as
you're
I
not
say
really doing
you
that.
keep
You're not
framing it as
accomplishing
if
that.
I agree with them 90%. And where I think that I'm going to flip them overnight on the 90% where we disagree. No, there's no chance of that. So you can stop asking that question. They're not going to move on cutting the budget, and they're not going to listen that, hey, you know what, you shouldn't cut the malaria treatment in Africa. You shouldn't cut the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau because every dollar we spend there, we get back $20, et cetera. But if you go with your maximalist approach, guys, and you say, all right, I'm fighting you in a maximum way, so that means I'm never going to agree with you. I'm going to insult you at every turn. I'm not going to listen to you. So when you come in and you go, hey, guys, let's ally against the war, or maybe did you think that Elon's and I said this in every right-wing talk show that I did, and I said it at the Charlie Kirk event, I said, remember, beware of your own donors like Elon Musk. And then eventually they got aware of their own donors. Now, did they do it magically and overnight? No, it was mainly a fight between Elon and Trump, right?
They are so aware of their own donors, bro.
It had nothing to do with Charlie
They're
Kirk.
so aware.
They're
Thank you.
unpopular is not because the left's maximalist approach of yelling fascist at every Trump voter is working. It's because their
She did not
policies are
say that.
deeply
She did not say
unpopular.
that.
And who
About
explains
a
that their
straw man.
policies are deeply unpopular? The left and liberals are the ones that highlight how deeply unpopular those policies are. So that's where the credit belongs.
Like I do. So
Right, but that's not like Joe Rogan does, right? Joe Rogan doesn't do that. Charlie Kirk doesn't do that. They don't do
I just said
that.
how unpopular they are.
Yeah,
It's
but
like
my
it's
point
amazing.
is, Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk don't do that, Cenk. They're not allies. Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk don't do that. None of Steve Bannon doesn't do that. Sloppy Steve goes and gives Trump a hand job every day. That's the point, is that they're not allies. And by the way, even on the Iran war thing, they're lying. They are lying. We literally have the quotes right here. Charlie Kirk is already backpedaling. Quote, we must trust Trump in the situation. Steve Bannon, if Trump ultimately decides to bomb Iran's nuclear sites, MAGA would come around. That's not me speaking, that's Steve Bannon. The vast majority of the MAGA movement will go, look, we trust your judgment. We don't like it. In fact, we may hate it, but we'll get on.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell everyone, you gotta give, if any MAGA adjacent guy who likes Trump because he's like whatever, like cool or whatever, if they need someone on the left to watch, please show them Kyle. Like, no one's gonna rip off Sloppy Steve is ready to give Trump hand jobs every day as cleanly as Kyle Kulinski is gonna be. All right, the way he weaves that into a conversation, he's hilarious. Okay, he's entertaining, he's angry. Kyle is a good asset. Don't share Pod Save America. Don't share David Pakman. Don't share me. All right, share Kyle. Kyle is hilarious, bro.
On board. Tucker Carlson called Trump and apologized, and he also said on his podcast with Steve Bannon,
you
quote,
guys
I
already
like
reviewed
Israel. I don't talk about Gaza because my audience got mad at me. He said, quote, watching Donald Trump, who at his core is sincere about peace, I feel for President Trump, and he just has to roll with it.
Someone said progressives, please move to NYC, future progressive utopia. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know if you're young, but if you believe that, you don't know what kind of power is in NYC, all right? If Zoran becomes mayor, he needs to fight the entire world to become mayor, by the way. They're going to try to stop him with everything they have. If he does become mayor, they're going to try to stop every program he has. Like, I don't know what you mean by progressive utopia. If anything, we should all be moving to Rhode Island. Do you know how easy it would be? Not Rhode Island. To Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Arkansas. Like, there are small states, Idaho. There are states we can flip by moving enough progressives into these states. We can change this entire country if we move a few 100,000 people. I'm telling you, we could literally change the entire Senate forever. Like, we gotta do it, dude.
That is not true. What he's saying is not true. These are not allies. They will immediately
Everyone
start
from California and New York City got to move to Montana and North and South Dakota, and we'll be set.
Posts as soon as Trump starts bombing Iran. You're going to get this. You're going to get, oh, he's getting bad advice from the neocons around him. It's not a big deal. It's a limited attack. It's defensive. It's not offensive. This isn't like Iraq. There are no boots on the ground. The only people who are sincere that I will grant you, Cenk, is libertarians. So Thomas Massey and Dave Smith, because libertarians have a track record, like Ron Paul did, of being very principled. But everybody in MAGA, or 99% of them, will bend the knee, just like 99% of the ones in Congress have already bent the knee. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's saying things that are against the war, she's ultimately not signing onto the bill to block the war.
I do love Trump. Someone said, you said moving 100,000 people is easy. Moving 100,000 people, okay, moving that many people is not easy, but 100,000 people deciding to move is easy. Everyone has to do their own part.
Okay, so here we go again.
Think
so again,
about
90-10, guys.
Think about it.
The framing of that question makes it sound like I think Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson have good intent, and my God, they're ready to rebel on everything against Donald Trump.
I said Iran.
No,
I said Iran.
And I just answer a question.
But I didn't say that. I said Iran.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. So I think that obviously 90% of the influencers, the hosts, etc., are going to stick with Trump 100%, right? Well, I wouldn't even say 90%. I'd say 75% or so. Are they going to kiss his ass on everything? Well, of course they are. They're on the right, and their whole ecosystem is based on kissing politicians and leaders' asses. Now, let's be honest, not us and not you guys, but MSNBC and now a lot of online hosts on the left. Their job is to kiss the Democratic ass, and they say, oh yeah, Joe Biden was young and dynamic, etc. So yes, we have the partisans, and they are, by definition, always going to stick with one side is great, the other side is the devil, okay? So now when you get to the 25% of hosts...
There's levels of severity here. Like if Joe Biden did everything Trump is doing right now, then the Democrats would be kicking him out. Like, there's a reason, and that literally did. Oh, dude, this is the issue with both sidesism. Like, Joe Biden was literally kicked out once they realized there was a problem with him. Trump could literally shit in his diaper on national television, piss down his leg, and fall off a chair and trip on a chair and land face first into a pile of shit on the ground and just start rolling in it and eat it. And like, Trump can do the wildest stuff possible. He can forget where he is and walk into walls, and they'll still love Trump and support Trump. Like, it's actually insane. It's actually crazy what Trump can do, and they'll be like, Donald Trump, that was so impressive. You were able to shit in the toilet bowl today. Oh my goodness. No one else can shit in the toilet. No one else shits like you, Trump. Donald Trump, you are the shit. It's just so, oh my God. The levels of zealotry between the parties is not comparable. You could say two sides are both bad, but there's a huge difference between severity.
Because now the reason I moved it from 10 to 25, because you're including Rogan, etc. So is Rogan the same as Steve Bannon? If you think he is, that's just totally wrong. Now, do they agree on a lot of things? Yes. Are they?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. If Trump shit himself on national television, they would say, well, Biden would have shit himself worse.
Do they agree on everything? No. Does Steve Bannon right about most things? No, he's horribly, horribly wrong about most things. So will they, when Trump says heal, will they heal? In the beginning, yes. And that's exactly what you're saying. But the reason they're having to heal is because they started rebelling in the first place. And Trump got mad and everybody else got mad. And even today, you just go on any website. So Bannon is saying, don't go to war. It's terrible. Is he then saying, oh, Donald Trump?
Hey, all the Trumpers in chat, I've watched enough of this video, okay, for my YouTube. So please drop a like. Thank you for coming and liking and subscribing. If you want to support the channel, please support Jolah Politics on Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. Really appreciate everyone supporting the channel. Become a channel member. You can donate through Super Chat as well, or through my Coffee link in bio. Link in bio. Join Discord, also link in bio. Link in my descriptions on my videos and my streams. The phone line is open. If you want to call the phone line, call in, Trumpers. If you have a big disagreement with me, if you disagree on something, call in. Have a chat with me. If I'm a brain dead liberal, as you're saying, please.